can't hear you. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Say it again. I can't hear you. And if you talk about coming in here, no. Go talk to Fingers, man. Tell Fingers put you on air. Leave me alone, man. I gotta do my show. Another game and another extra inning loss to the Yankees. Plus, the NBA landscape changed overnight with not one, but two major moves by one team. We'll discuss that and so much more. Welcome inside the Rude Air Conditioning Studios. Len Martez flying solo today. Zach Blobner taking the day off. Our phone number, 888-546-4620. That is toll free anywhere in the red, white, and blue in the world. Also, our text line, hit us up, 82945. Start your text with DAE, so we know. Derek DeBose and I, on the other side of the glass, we know it's for us. Got a lot to do between now and noon. At 8:30, we'll hook up with longtime NFL writer and Hall of Fame voter, Jason Cole. 9:30, we'll talk to Thomas Bassinger, Tommy B, as some of them call him, of the Tampa Bay Times. 10:30, we'll do the Logic Zone, and because I'm flying solo today, we've got to get a little help. We'll get some help from Rays Radio Network's Neil Solantz. And then at 11 o'clock, we'll talk to longtime friend and ESPN play-by-play voice, John Boog Shambi. So again, lots to do on this Saturday morning, and happy 4th of July weekend to all of you joining me on this Saturday morning. And a special thank you and shout out to those who continue to serve this country and allow us to do what we do, Doug DeBose and I, allow us to do what we do on a Saturday morning and throughout the year, 365 days. And again, we salute you, those who serve this country, because like the bumper sticker says, freedom isn't free. And again, we appreciate the service of the servicemen and women of this country. And again, happy 4th of July weekend to you. So now let's get down to the nitty gritty. Need you. Let's get down to last night. And I was feeling pretty good. Was feeling pretty good around the bottom of the 7th because this happened. Yeah, can't explain what happened at the end of that inning, but the Rays took the lead 4-3, going into the top of the 8th, and then this happened. Well said by Andy Freed of the Rays Radio Network, fellow Towson Tiger. Yeah, you went from taking the lead at the bottom of the 7th, the end of the 7th, the base running mistake, and then Aaron Hicks, one batter in, hits a bomb to tie the game up at 4, and then this happened. And again, you can't say it any better than the two play-by-play men of the Rays. Andy Freed had the call of the 8th of Aaron Hicks. Home run, solo home run, perfectly described. And then Dave Wills, as he does, perfectly described. It didn't take long. Aaron Judge, one pitch, Ryan Stanek, top of the 11th, 98-mile-an-hour fastball, grooved, and I say grooved because it was on the outside of the plate. Judge extended his arms, and he hit a rocket to center field. And it took no longer than maybe about 4 seconds for that ball to get out. I don't do the exit velocity a la Steve Carney. Shout out Steve Carney. But yeah, that ball got out very quickly in the 11th inning. And that led to the Yankees scoring more runs through a home run by Brett Gardner. And in the end, another 8-4 loss by the Rays to the Yankees, both in extra innings. Thursday, 8-4. Friday, 8-4. And again, I was feeling pretty good. I was looking at coming in today, thinking in terms of, man, you know what? They win this ball game, meaning the Rays. They're 6.5 back. And granted, okay, realistically, are you looking at winning the division even if they won last night? Probably not. Because the Yankees are getting healthier. And one of their biggest kryptonites this year has been hitting against lefties. Well, when you have Aaron Judge in the lineup and they're getting healthy, and DJ LeMahieu is doing what he's doing, and Aaron Hicks, switch hitter, can hit from the right side, slowly but surely that kryptonite hitting lefties is going to go away. Although they do face a lefty today in Blake Snell. We'll talk more about that game in a bit. But I was feeling pretty good after the bottom of the 7th. I was actually feeling pretty good throughout most of the game because, you know, Brandon McKay gets his second start in the major leagues. And sure, it wasn't lights out like Saturday, his first major league start. But think about it. Top of the first, throws 19 pitches, strikes out 2 guys. Judge hit a solo home run. But other than that, McKay again gets 2 strikeouts. Judge, by the way, that home run in the 11th, home run in the first inning. 9 multi-home run games in his career. But I mentioned McKay. McKay had a 1-2-3 inning in the second, 1-2-3 inning in the fourth. And it seemed like he got a little rhythm. It seemed like things were going to go well for him. And then came the 5th inning, where he gave up 2 runs. Tuckman had a 1-out, 2-run single. And because of that extended inning, 22 pitches, McKay ended up throwing 83 for the game and left after the 5th inning. 5 innings, 3 runs, 6 hits, 3 strikeouts, didn't walk anyone. I mentioned the 2 1-2-3 innings he had in the second and the fourth, and he allowed the solo home run to Aaron Judge in the first inning. No, not lights out like he was on Saturday in his major league debut, but a start that you would take certainly in a pitcher's second career start. Speaking of pitchers, on the other side, you had Masahiro Tanaka, who, for the most part against the Rays, has been unhittable. But in back-to-back innings, in the 4th and the 5th inning, he allowed solo home runs. One to Nate Lowe, his first career home run. And then, lo and behold, Mike Zunino showed up and hit a solo home run. Zunino, not mocking him, but he was 2 for 22 before that solo shot. So the Rays scored a couple of runs against Masahiro Tanaka, who was wielding his magic for the most part, except for those 2 solo home runs, including a 1-2-3 6th inning where he threw 13 pitches. As a matter of fact, in the 5th inning when he gave up the home run to Zunino, he only threw 8 pitches. So Masahiro was still tough. The guy that had the best at-bats, surprisingly enough, against Masahiro Tanaka last night was Mike Brasso, a rookie. Brasso, by the way, last night, the good thing, we'll give you some good. Brasso went 3 for 5 last night, 2 doubles, and since being called back up, he is 5 for 11 with a home run and 2 doubles and 2 RBIs. So good for Mike Brasso. And if he continues to hit like that, guess what? The Rays are going to have to find a place for Mr. Brasso, even when they get healthy, when Brandon Lau comes back and G-Man, Choi. But as far as the Rays are concerned, I mentioned the good. And listen, as bad as the base running mistake was for Kevin Kiermaier running up Austin Meadows' back in the bottom of the seventh, give him credit for getting that 2-out, 2-run single going the other way against a lefty. By the way, Kiermaier had 2 hits last night, both to left field. So for all you Kiermaier crushers who talk about Kiermaier not laying down bunts, not going the other way, he seems to be adapting, and he hit the ball to the other way twice to get 2 hits last night. I mentioned Brasso, mentioned Kiermaier. That's the good when it comes to the sticks. Problem is, that's where the good ends when it comes to the sticks last night. And listen, if you're a Rays fan, I know you're thinking in terms of the bullpen, the bullpen, the bullpen, the bullpen. And there are issues, lots of them. When you give the ball to Chaz Rowe, not good, not lately. When you've been giving the ball to Jose Alvarado, not good, not lately. And I understand the desire to get more bullpen help when it comes to the Rays. But don't let the bats off the hook, man. Because there have been too many games. And last night was one of them. And certainly it went into extra innings. But last night's game didn't have to go into extra innings when it comes to the sticks last night. Case in point, combined, Tommy Pham, Yandy Diaz, Willie Adames, combined 0 for 16 and 8 strikeouts. Let that sink in. Tommy Pham, 0 for 6 last night in 3 Ks. Yandy Diaz, 0 for 5, 3 Ks. Willie Adames, 0 for 5, and he struck out twice. Let that sink in when you talk about getting bullpen help, because there were opportunities last night, and granted, Kiermaier came through in the 7th and got his hit, but prior to him getting that hit, Tommy Pham had a shot. Same inning, bottom of the 7th. Same lefty pitcher, Nestor Cortez. Unfortunately, the result was one of three of Tommy's strikeouts on 3 pitches. And the last one, he took a half swing. Don't know what's wrong with him lately, but this is a guy who hit, 340 when he came here last year, and certainly, obviously didn't play a full season when he got traded here last year. But last night, and we'll talk to Neil Solondz more about this at 10:30. Neil Solondz, of course, Rays Radio Network pre- and post-game host. But last night may have been Pham's worst at-bats in a Rays uniform. I haven't seen all of them. But the ones I've seen, last night were bad. And again, he faced a lefty in the bottom of the 7th with a chance to put the Rays up. And he looked outmatched against a guy that, honestly, Nestor Cortez, not a guy you should be outmatched against. 888-546-4620. That is toll free. Anywhere in the red, white, and blue and the world. You can also hit us up on our text line 82945. Start your text with DAE, so we know it's for us. Speaking of the text line, from the 727, finding good with the Rays is like finding a needle in a haystack. Not necessarily. I mentioned Brasso. I mentioned Kiermaier coming through. McKay's outing wasn't bad for his second one in the major leagues. They're still 50 and 39. Granted, they're 2-9 versus the Yankees. And in the AL East, the Rays are 500. And I mentioned the fact that after the 7th inning last night, bottom of the 7th, I wanted to come in here and feel good about things. I wanted to talk about the fact that come the second half, the Rays, after the All-Star break, and granted, it's going to be tough. They play 19 games in 18 days in July. But 10 of those 19 games are versus teams under 500. Again, that's what I wanted to talk about, because I wanted to talk about in terms of, okay, being 6.5 back and maybe not catching the Yankees, but potentially at least keeping the gap, a bigger gap than it is now, atop the wild card. And then, again, you heard the highlights. After Kiermaier's hit, Aaron Hicks, first batter of the 8th inning, and then Aaron Judge, first batter, the 11th inning. So that kind of changes the tune a little bit when it comes to how I feel about things with the Rays. Because, listen, we can talk about beating up on the bad teams, and certainly I mentioned 10 of 19 games in July against teams under 500. But being 500 in your own division, not a good thing. And we can talk about how good the Yankees are and how good the Red Sox are. But this team, built on pitching, built on clutch hitting, good defense. And for anyone that wants to talk in terms of whether it be Aaron Boone or Rocco Baldelli, as far as manager of the year is concerned in the American League, Kevin Cash, to me, night in and night out, continues to find ways. And granted, sure, they've had their issues in June where the Rays were 13 and 16? And they're not starting off July all that good after winning 16 games in April and in May. But Kevin Cash finds ways to win with this team. King of the matchups. King of the matchups, and not only that, think in terms of the catching situation. Think in terms of, I mentioned Tommy Pham, and now he's down at hitting slightly above 270. Think in terms of Austin Meadows getting banged up, coming back, but also he's slowing down, certainly an all-star. But there are a lot of, unfortunately, bats in this lineup that have been really inconsistent. Think about Willie Adames, who on the road, 8, 9 home runs. He finally got off the schneid, the last homestand? Well, this homestand. But their at-bats for the Rays, too many of them have been inconsistent. That's why if you're a Rays fan and you're clamoring for bullpen help, I'm not disagreeing with you. Because I mentioned it already. I mentioned Castillo. I mentioned Chaz Rowe. And shout out to Steve Carney, who hosts the Inside Pitch here on 95.3 WDAE. And we'll be here today at 3 o'clock. We'll be at the park at 3 o'clock for the Inside Pitch, starting our coverage of the Rays and Yankees, who go at it. 2 lefties, Sabathia and Snell. But Carney mentioned this regarding Ryan Stanek. And if you're a Rays fan, maybe you do, maybe you don't. But you wonder why Ryan Stanek can't be a guy that you turn to when it comes to the bullpen. Well, you saw it last night. Last night, he threw a 98-mile-an-hour straight ball, allowing Aaron Judge to extend his arms and hit a bomb to center field. And that was basically the game-winning hit, game-winning home run. I know Brett Gardner jumped on and added his 3-1 shot. And you might think, okay, we had, kind of padded the lead a little bit. It certainly did. It padded the lead a little bit. But Gardner's home run is not the reason why the Rays lost last night. Aaron Judge is the reason why. And also the fact, again, mention those guys. Pham, Yandy, Willie Adames. No hits. Combined 16 at-bats, and 8 strikeouts. 888-546-4620. That is toll-free anywhere in the red, white, and blue. Len Martez here with you from now until noon on 95.3 WDAE. As I mentioned earlier, a little bit ago, Steve Carney starts our coverage of the Rays and Yankees game 3 of the 4 games set here at the Trop. And then following Steve, Neil Solondz, who we'll talk to at 10:30. Neil Solondz takes over at 3:30. And then first pitch will be about 4:07. Dave and Andy will have the call of the first pitch. Yankees and Rays, 2 lefties going at it. Blake Snell versus CC Sabathia. Future Hall of Fame pitcher, CC Sabathia. You can argue whatever you want when it comes to the stanky Yankees. CC, one of 3 lefties with over 3,000 strikeouts. He's going to Cooperstown. He's locked in. He's locked in. A lot like Pujols, he's not the player he once was, or the pitcher he once was. But Pujols, CC, they're going to the Hall of Fame. Now, the question is, are there other guys playing right now that could leave the game right now and make it to the Hall of Fame? I got a few guys that I want to bring up that certainly I think could walk away from baseball and make it to the Hall of Fame. But I'll share that in a little bit. But let's see, in about 5 minutes, we're going to do this. Why doesn't Bucs wide receiver Mike Evans get more national recognition? Plus, worst to first, 15 of the last 16 years in the NFL, will it happen again? That's just some of the things I'll talk about with Jason Cole, longtime NFL writer. And I do that next. Len Martez, clanging and banging with you from now until noon on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.